Thank you, Jen. I appreciate your help on this morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to just another Monday morning where we're here to connect with God and to connect with one another. I welcome you to just come on into the space this morning as we prepare to wrap up a couple of things from our first quarter of the year. Man, mad love to all of us who made it through January, through March, just getting up, doing the work of being better together with God and being better with one another. And then a salute to all of us who are continuing the work and continuing the journey as the year progresses and as time progresses, you all. I am that much more committed, that much more settled on doing the necessary work to not be the same, doing the work, necessary work to move forward. And so I'm grateful that each of you are here and that obviously you are committed to doing the same. So let's just send some love into the atmosphere on this morning for our dear daddy God for one another. I want to just pray quickly. Even as Jen and I were talking behind stage, she reminded me that this week is even Holy Week. This is the week that Jesus is making has already made the critical decision to be crucified for you and for I. This is the week that symbolizes him preparing mentally and emotionally and spiritually to go to the cross and to finish the thing, y'all, to finish all of the things that would have been stumbling blocks for you and I. This is where he goes to pay the price for your deliverance and my deliverance, for your freedom and my freedom, for our joint healing, for the peace that it surpasses all understanding. It's the week that he's leading up to going and bearing those stripes across his back so that you and I could be healed. It's the week that he's preparing to go and be chastised, you all. And so even as we continue our work and we continue this study, we understand that a price was paid so that you and I can be well and it can be whole. And I'm just committed to not wasting those whips across his back. I am committed to not taking lightly the crown of thorns that was set upon his head. My God, I intend to make it worth it that he was pierced in his side for me. I intend to honor him by living my best life and paying some sense of salute to the nails that went through his hands and through his feet. This was not a lightly bought freedom that you and I have to be the best versions of ourselves. So let's all just lean in the more, particularly this week, to honor what Jesus went through so that you and I could literally live free. Let's be intentional about tearing down every stronghold and every thought in our minds that comes to keep us captive, that comes to hold us in bondage when a price has already been paid so that we can walk in freedom. Let's be committed to just receiving the grace that comes with knowing that we have a daddy God who sent his son Jesus so that his daughters, you and I, could be set free. Let's agree to that on this morning. So God, we thank you that as we dive into just this awareness that this week celebrates and honors and pays tribute to Holy Week, I thank you that you have daughters who appreciate all that you went through so that we could be free. And even as we join into the Bible study on this morning, Daddy God, we realize that there was a price that was paid. There was a price that was paid so that we can truly understand who we are in you and not just understand, but walk in it. So we say thank you to you on this morning. We honor you and we adore you. We appreciate you. We tell you thank you. Our hearts are filled with gratitude for the price that you paid. You were the good Daddy God who looked away and allowed his son to be crucified, to be murdered on Calvary Calvary's cross so that Gena and Jennifer and Teresa and Mary and Gladys and Pam and all Facebook users and Lorena and Cece and Sarah and Tracy, so that all of us can be free. And so with one collective voice, God, we say that we love you, we appreciate you, we say thank you to you in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name, we do pray. I'm seeing that my screen has frozen, Jennifer. If you're able to still hear me, you can let me know that. And I can definitely run in and come back because we have some screens to show on this morning.
Yes, I can hear you, and you are frozen on both on to me on the screen and also on Facebook.
Thank you, ma'am. So we'll just continue to just give God thanks on this morning. Good morning to Wanda. It'll take me like that many seconds to just exit and come back in. Jen, we kind of know that happens when we have something critical to discuss. So I'll do that and come right back.
Okay. Thank you for staying with us. She's just going to exit and come right back to make sure she's not frozen. Thank you for staying with us. And like she said, we know that the plan of the enemy is nothing new. When there's something important to talk about, he always tries to show up and create issues, but we're smarter than that, and we know what he's trying to do. So we are just going to work through it and adjust and not be frazzled, but continue to be calm and focus on the main thing, which is Holy Week and what we're supposed to be focused on this morning. So thank you for bearing with us. Shu will be right back. Good morning, Sharon. I see you. Good morning. And good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. She should be joining in just one moment. I appreciate your flexibility and your patience with us this morning while technology does what technology does. And I hope that during this Holy Week that your companies allow you to take Good Friday off. My company does not allow that, but I know that most companies do. So I hope that you're looking forward to that time of reflection with your family in this Holy Week as we focus on our Savior and the great sacrifice, the difficult journey that he made for each one of us for our salvation and for us to be well and whole in the earth so that we can be more like him and that we can share his love with one another and share his love with those who need it the most. So thank you again. Thank you for being with us this morning. Thank you so much for staying. She hasn't joined back yet. It looks like she might have had to restart her computer, but again, she'll be right back with us. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for being here. I see so many of you. I want to say good morning to you, Teresa and Gladys. I see she's joined us again. So let me get her back in the room so that she can continue with us.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, ma'am. Honey wouldn't let me back in, but I'm back. So thank you all for hanging right here. We're going to go ahead and jump over to what I wanted to share this morning in lieu of going to a different queen on this morning. I'm simply going to take a moment to wrap up something that I think we want to be very intentional about as we go into the second quarter of the year. So I'm going to just share this kind of big for a moment. Let us see. We stopped last week with this piece about the erasure process and going through the steps of that, and we began then to discuss how we wanted to have self-advocacy spheres. It was this idea that we have to be very intentional about taking care of ourselves. So we're going to start right here, just as a quick reminder. I illustrated that many of us show up in the world just kind of open-ended, blindly going, bumping into whoever, whatever, however, whenever. People just kind of come in and out of our lives. And we're making a conscious decision, you all, to not exist in that manner anymore. As I just highlighted earlier, Christ paid too great of a price for you and for I to walk in the best version of ourselves. And so this is just one construct that we're making sure in this period where we're ending the first quarter quarter of the year and going into the second, being very reflective about what has happened in our life and being very intentional about moving forward. So let's just own that space right here, right now. Everybody be very clear. This is what we often come into the world looking like. Just allowing our lives, our landscape to be an open canvas, and whoever, whatever, however, whenever, it just shows up in our life. But we are determining that we desire to manage our life, to be intentional about our lives by putting into place our own self advocacy spheres. We talked a bit about that, where the first sphere is about those things that make us well. I invited you last week to be very intentional about in processing what type of people do you desire to have in your intimate self-advocacy space. It's determining that if loyalty matters to you, if integrity matters to you, if honesty matters to you, those are the people that you will be very intentional about surrounding yourself with. Everybody say it with me. I have a right to be well. I owe it to myself to be well. So, with these self advocacy spheres, you begin to be very intentional about who's in that innermost circle. And then, as you go further out, really being clear about who's good for your life. They don't necessarily have to be your prayer partner or your closest dearest friend, but in that circle, you may say, I know I need some help with my health. So a health coach would be good in this circle. I know I may need some help with my finances. So an accountant would be good in this circle. I know I may need some help with just my home care. So home assistance may be good in this circle. It's just really owning that we no longer want to exist just kind of open field, open landscape, pretty much like this picture, the previous picture, where whoever and whatever and however and whenever, whatever comes, it just comes. It's being very intentional and saying, no, my life is too valuable. It means too much. And I need to be well in my own life. So I am being very intentional about putting my self advocacy spheres in place. It's these rams of connection that are filled with things that make me well. And it's quite obvious then, those things that do not make us well, those things that destroy our peace, those things that don't give a way to our physical bodies being the best version of those selves, we're pushing those things further and further away on purpose, unapologetically, with intentionality. Yeah, we've spent enough days just kind of meandering through. It is time to be on duty in our own lives, advocating for ourselves and creating spaces, creating spheres where we can be well. If all of you understand that, you can give me a thumbs up, or you can lean on the love button. It's work to do this, you all. It's work to do this, but your life is worth it. Now, why do I say that it's work to do this? I posted something on yesterday, and I'll go back and summarize even that. But it was this idea, y'all, that letting go is not easy. It's this parable that is shared by, it's a Buddhist parable, actually, but it's a parable that is shared about a man who has a raft and he was stranded. And so he works hard and he builds this raft. And when he finally finished sacrificing and getting all of the wood and tying it however he ties it and getting on it and drifting all the way across a raging sea, he's so grateful that the raft saves him. So he lands on the shore and he gets the raft and he's packing the raft through the forest. And as he's packing the raft through the forest, it's getting snagged on the trees and snagged on the branches, and it's causing his progress to be much slower. He's dragging and he's getting stuck and he can't turn and he can't maneuver like he used to. And there's this thought about it that says you have to let the raft go. You have to let that raft go. And the man says, but I built it and it saved my life when I was crossing the raging seas. I invested in it. It saved me. I don't want to let it go. And so there's this summary that I put on that, and I'm going to bring that right back to us. There's a summary that I put on that about that particular story, because it's simply this: when the thing that once saved us begins to destroy us, we must learn to let go. When the thing that once saved us begins to destroy us, we must learn to let go. And it is this notion, you all, that as we are growing, as we are evolving, as we are changing, as we're building those self advocacy spheres that we just talked about, it is okay to understand that there were things from your yesteryears, there were things from your yesterdays that allowed you to move and become this current version of yourself. But it does not mean that those things will be necessary for you to go your next steps into your future. In fact, some of the ways that we had to hustle, some of the ways that we had to think, perhaps some of the ways that we even operated, yes, by God's grace, it helped us to land at where we are today. But those things will be detrimental to our future. And learning how to let go of that, learning how to sit with ourselves, and how to really consider if that A1 since day one, and the way we used to get out on the streets and we would fight and we would act tough and we would do what we have to do. That's this new me who's committed to walking in peace and allowing the Lord to fight my battles. This new me no longer wants to operate that, but I still want to hold that person in my inner circle because they were my A1 since day one. Some of us will not make the necessary transitions and get into our next spaces if we are unwilling to let it go, if we are unwilling to rearrange, if we're unwilling to say, there was a day when I didn't believe in, going into certain businesses and I didn't want to go and do bank negotiations. Man, I was just a hustler and I just want to carry my cash in my pocket. And we realize now that the visions and the dreams that we have, honey, the little money that we got cash in our pocket, that's not going to cut it. We need to know how to engage in venture capital. We need to know how to engage in profitable business assets and loans. We want to be a part of those discussions now. But if we're not willing to let go of past mindsets that, true enough, got us to where we are, then we're going to find ourselves missing out on the next steps of our lives. So that can be work. That can be work really sitting with ourselves and realizing what are the mindsets that I'm pulling close in that self-efficacy sphere. Who are the people that I'm pulling close? One of our community queens, Paula, sent me a message just the other day, and I knew that it was confirmation because she said, "You say all the time, and you're too global to be local. But what are you doing about your physical health to ensure that you're in that space?" And the Lord had just been dealing with me about that because some of my old eating habits are not eating habits, will not sustain me on the schedule that I have now. So I've had to become committed to saying, I used to not carve out time in my regular weekly routine to just ensure that I went and gave time to picking out healthy snacks and healthy products that really move on the go with me easily. That was once not a priority because I wasn't on the go as much. But now that the doors are opening and I'm walking even the more in who God called me to be, even something as simple as adjusting how I shop for my food products has to become a part of my self-advocacy intimate sphere if I truly want to live out and be all that God has called for me to be. And so for each of you, you have to process that same. What part of your patterns, what part of your connections, what parts of your mindsets, true enough, got you to where you are? But if we don't grow through those things, if we don't release those old things, we're going to find ourselves falling short on the lives that God has created for us. When the thing that once saved us begins to destroy us, we must learn to let it go. I invite you into the comments, even right now, as I'm processing to, I see somebody said, all right, Gena, you in my fridge. Yes, ma'am, Tiffany. Let me take this down. But I'm inviting each of us as you're processing out loud with me. I'm sure you can think through it quickly too. What's something that you're going to have to let that go? If you're truly going to walk into all that God has created for you to be, y'all join with me. I see Yolanda laughing. Join with me. What is something that you're going to have to let go? Perhaps some of us have flirted with certain people or things too long. And if you're truly going to have what God has for you, you know that you have to let it go. Some of you are saying, I know I'm supposed to be reading books, and that whole laying up here watching TV for hours instead of having my mind in a book, growing and learning, I'm gonna have to let that go. Like literally, if we want to see our lives shift, we're going to have to let some things go. We're going to have to let it go. I see. Let me see. The idea that I can do it all by myself. Absolutely, Sharice. If you have a vision, if you have a dream and you have a goal, and it's something that you can in totality do by yourself, then that's too small. So perhaps even layer in there the idea that I can do it by myself. You have to let go of that. And then the pride or the self sufficiency piece of you that refuses to ask for help, that part too, right? That part too. When you see the mentality, it allows you to dig deeper to say, and what is that really masking, or what's underneath that? Maybe you don't like to ask for help, and so even that, you're going to have to let it go. Teresa Whitaker, you're saying you're going to have to let go of self-doubt. You're going to have to give that thing up, or you give yourself too much room to play around with doubting yourself. Very good. I see y'all have jumped in. Let it go. Carelessly existing is what Tracy is adding. Carelessly existing, not being intentional about seeking God for his specific purpose for your life. Absolutely. Just floating through. And that's probably a whole host of us, Tracy. So thank you for adding that transparently through the conversation. Sometimes just floatlessly, just floating purposelessly. And then, as I just did with Sharice, and then even digging deeper and really coming to the root of that, perhaps there's a bit of you that's still having to wrap your mind around the fact that God really does have an assignment for your life, that there is purpose for your life, that all words spoken, all thoughts that seek to exalt itself against that, you got to pull them down daily and remind yourself, God created me for a purpose, on purpose, right? My dear friend Evie says that God created me for his purpose, on purpose. So sometimes the forward facing part of it is just the symptoms of something that is deeper. And I see Teresa identifying with you and saying she can agree with that. She likes, wait, I feel all of this. Absolutely. Some of it is that we don't move because we're not thoroughly convinced yet. But y'all know we say we keep stepping into it by faith. We keep stepping into it by faith, y'all. It is not some journey that you wake up one day and the self-doubt is just gone, or the self-sabotaging is just gone, or the imposter syndrome is just gone. And I got a purpose and it's just here. It's not. It's a daily transformation of our minds where we pull down every thought that seeks to exalt itself against what God has said. I see procrastinating and self-doubt. So Jackie Weathers, I will tell you the same thing. Procrastination is probably the symptom. The root of it is self-doubt. Does everybody hear me clarifying as people are lifting theirs to the screens and sharing on this morning? I certainly appreciate it. I want us to understand that oftentimes what we see, that's the symptom of what's going on at a deeper level. That's why it's so important to do the work. For many of you who put procrastinating, or even when I see some of you saying being stuck at other people's thoughts and opinions, the reality is the deeper root of that is often self-doubt. We procrastinate, and it's hidden underneath procrastination, or it's hidden underneath the opinions of others. But deep down in there somewhere is probably some measures of self-doubt and a lack of belief in our own abilities. And so again, we continue to pull down and step into by faith what God has said. Starting but not finishing is often one that people discuss as well. Starting but not finishing, it still has its roots. Starting but not finishing, that has an element of self-sabotaging there, where we may even be afraid that we're not going to succeed. So instead of getting to the other side, instead of running the race and leaning towards the finish line, we just give up. That way we don't even have to say that we didn't finish, or we didn't win, or we didn't come in first place. We just go ahead and take ourselves out of the race, y'all. It is allowing God, it is allowing our good daddy God to do the deep work. I appreciate each of you who are adding to the conversation and putting your stuff out there. Most of it, though, when it comes across to me, it sounds like the symptom. There's something deeper that's happening in your spirit, man, and that's the space that God desires to heal, so that your symptom actions will begin to change. So yes, I see Kimberly adding, I have to let go of pride and not wanting people to know what's really going on with me. Absolutely. So Kim, you are definitely speaking to a root there. Not wanting people to know is the symptom, but the root of that is pride. The root of that is perhaps even being somewhat self-sufficient and not needing or thinking that you need anybody else for anything. Perhaps the root of that is being broken and being hurt by your people relationship. So when you sit with your symptoms allow you to go deeper and deeper and deeper and ask God to heal those places, to really heal those places where you've been disappointed or broken, so that you really can have the people that He has for your life. And Tawanda's coming after you with prayer in the name of Jesus. So you all, we're already right here. It is one of the beautiful things that I enjoy about this type of work and gathering in the mornings to sit with one another. May God heal each of us. We're going to jump back into our queens on tomorrow, but for today, I really did want to just remind us, y'all, sit with your self-advocacy spears. Sit with those. Don't, as we prepare to go into a new quarter, let's be intentional about putting those spears in place, pulling close what we know makes us well, pulling close who we know makes us well, the type of people that makes us well, those habits that make us well, that getting our rest, that taking our quiet time. Like, let's be intentional about advocating for ourselves. And then number two, let's begin to do the work of letting go, even if it was a part of our past, even if it was good for getting us to our current selves. There's a future self that deserves the new elements that will move us towards that. And then I also want to just to remind us lastly that as we're doing this, let's do the careful song and dance of grace and accountability. Grace and accountability. I am a strong proponent of give yourself grace when things are hard, when things are difficult, when things seem a bit heavier than normal, when you're going through something that is like a health challenge or grief or separation or anything that is particularly taxing. Give yourself grace. Allow yourself space to deal with life when life is lifing, and then to continue to moving. But the other side of that is accountability. There are moments when I've just given myself too much grace and not enough accountability in certain areas. And so there's just this balance that I'm inviting us to walk in, y'all, as we move into the second quarter. As we move into the second quarter, you are going to see us maturing in our conversations even the more, and seeing these results that are not quick fixes. They're not turn around 3 times. They're not even let me come and put the oil on your head. It is the work. It is the work of saying my life will not be the same. I'm just not going to be the same. And I am going to do the work to ensure that I get there. So that's what I have for today. We're going to start again in our Queens on tomorrow and continue to do this very meaningful work. I invite you again. I invite you again and remind you that on April the 15th, I'll be loud and in person at Brook Hollow, the Church Without Walls. You'll remember to sign up or just let me know that you're coming. Thank you for that, Jen. It is a simple registration. And you get to come and be a part of the audience, and we're going to have a dynamic in-person time on together. We're already getting ready to slate our pop-up again. It's going to be in May, so we'll keep those dates before you. And then lastly, for those of you who know, and you already know who you are, we are doing the meaningful work in our cohorts. I want to say our first cohort is already full for 12. If any spots are not taken by the 10th, I'll certainly promo. So those who desire to jump in with us for April can do that. And then our cohort group number 2 that starts in May, we have 7 slots available in that. If you know that this type of work is what you need, I invite you to invest in yourself. I'm telling you in advance, and I've been reprogramming my own stuff. I'm telling you in advance, this will be the final time. This will be the final time that those cohorts will be priced as they are. So you get in now. Yes, I'm telling you in advance. My licensure is coming in. Dr. Gena Jerkins is going to pass this test. If any of you have ever invested in therapy or wellness sessions, you know that the price that is being offered is like dirt cheap. So I'm letting you know in advance. If you desire to be a part of cohort number 2, where you're doing the work with me monthly, every single month for about 2 hours deep work, then I invite you to be a part of this one. For those of you who got in on cohort number 1 and those of you who will join me on cohort number 2, that will be it for this year. And that will be it at this pricing forever. As I step the more into my worth, into my value, and what I bring to the table, I know that it's quality work. So I invite you to be a part of it. That's what I have for you today. And I'm asking all of you to take that same seriousness. Y'all should be able to see we're evolving. Take that same seriousness. Jen, I say that to you. I say that to everybody. Ricky, I say that to you, Sharice. I say that to every person, Cece, Lorena, who's managing a business, who's managing a vision, who's managing a dream. Charlotte, I say that to you. Tiffany, I say that to you. To any person who's leading, literally allow God to begin to deal with you the more about your worth, about your value, and step into it unapologetic. Your clients and your audience and your supporters and your purchasers, they're there. They're there. That people group, Yolanda, all of it, we're all evolving and growing. I know that there's a measure of what I do, like the lives. There's a measure of the work that I do that God has just put it in my heart to hold space for people who perhaps are in financial transitions and the like, right? I will always have that space. But there's another side of me that understands business, that understands moving forward, that is no longer allowing that to just float through my life like that empty landscape, no longer there anymore. So for all of you, and it's not just me, I'm saying the same to you. Honor yourself, value yourself. Price yourself at what you're worth. Step into it by faith. Don't be afraid that the people who once paid the $5 or came for free won't show up at your stuff that you now charge for. It's okay. God has an audience for you. He has the clients for you. He has the people who are capable, willing, ready to invest in themselves and honor themselves by doing what's necessary. Y'all believe in yourselves. Vote on yourselves. Root for yourselves. Clap for yourselves. Value yourselves. Like, I mean that. Do that for you. It's just that time. It's that time. And what I have learned from watching is people put it elsewhere. They do what they want to do. So don't second guess, don't second doubt, don't minimize, don't sell down you to accommodate while they spend everywhere else. Let's all step up and just be excellent in what we offer and excellent in how we treat ourselves. All of you who are looking for jobs, y'all do the resumes. Ask for what you're worth. Like, literally do it. Believe God. You are his good daughter, and good daddy God has already opened doors for you. If you're operating in excellence, that'll be a whole nother talk a different day, because this stuff don't apply if you half stepping and half and half and need a whole lot of this, that, and the other to do right. That don't apply. I teach kingdom principles over here. But for those of you who are trying to be disciplined, who are trying to operate in excellence, who are doing the best, not the least, who are good stewards, so you're the type of employee that you would want to hire. That's a good assessment. Let me just throw that nugget real quick and I'm gonna get off of here. That's how I began to train myself, because I'm clear that I reap what I sow. And I'm clear that I'm going to hire. So I try to be the type of consultant that I would want to hire. So for all of you who are looking for increase, all of you who are putting your names in the hat to be selected for leadership, how do you know? How do you know? When you look in the mirror and you say, would you hire you? Would you hire you? Do you work in such a way that you would hire you? Because you're going to reap what you sow in your own businesses. So if you're on the phone, if you're half stepping, if you're doing the least, guess what? That's what you're going to reap in your business. Everything is kingdom principle over here, right? So that's what I got. And I don't know why I started talking about that. But anyway, it's our time, y'all, to step into who God has created us to be, to not sell ourselves short, to get in there and get in there good and allow Him to shape us and do the work so that we can be made whole. All right. So, y'all go forward today. I'm speaking His blessings over your life. I feel a bit of seriousness on today because we're in the second quarter, y'all, and we're going to look up and we're going to be in the fourth quarter before we know it. So I'm about getting it. Let's get it. Let's get it together. Sit with your self advocacy work. Process what makes you whole, what makes you well. Really begin to think about it and meet me right back here early in the morning, right? And we're going to jump back into doing this work. We're going to have what God says we can have by the closure of this year. In Jesus' name, I speak it. And if you're in full agreement, shout amen. I'll see you in the morning. As always, I honor the greatness that's on the inside of you. Bye now.